For thousands of years, coffee grew wild in the forests of southwestern Ethiopia. Long before it became a global commodity, it was part of everyday life, part of culture, part of tradition. No one could have imagined that this small red cherry would one day power an industry worth hundreds of billions of dollars. But this documentary isn't about coffee. Not really. Coffee is simply where the story begins. The real story is about ownership. Because one question has quietly followed coffee wherever it has traveled. How can the birthplace of one of the world's most famous products capture only a small fraction of the wealth it creates? That question is bigger than coffee. It reaches into the very architecture of the global economy. When most of us think about coffee, we imagine a farmer, a coffee bean, a customer. It seems simple. A farmer grows it, someone buys it. The transaction appears complete. But that is only the beginning. Between those two people lies one of the most sophisticated economic systems ever created. A system that transforms a simple agricultural product into an experience, a lifestyle, and a global business. Coffee leaves the farm. It is sorted, graded, exported, transported across oceans, insured, financed, stored, roasted, blended, packaged, marketed, distributed, finally served to the customer. Every step creates additional value. Every step requires different skills, different technology, different investment, different institutions. The coffee bean remains the same. Everything around it changes. This is where the story becomes interesting. As coffee traveled around the world, ownership did not travel with it. The bean moved, the value moved, the profits moved, the brands moved, the customer relationships moved, but the birthplace remained near the beginning of the chain. That distinction changed everything because modern economies do not reward only production, they reward transformation. Think about it. A green coffee bean has value, a roasted bean has more. A beautifully packaged product has even more. A trusted global coffee brand can be worth many times more than the beans inside the package. Each transformation creates another layer of value, another business, another profession, another investment, another opportunity. The farther a product moves from raw material to finished experience, the more economic value is generally created. This is why ownership matters, not because farming is unimportant. Without farmers, there is no coffee. Without origin, there is no industry. But production alone rarely captures the full economic potential of an industry. Transformation does, ownership does. Many people assume that countries rich in natural resources should naturally become wealthy. History tells a different story. Natural resources create opportunity. They do not guarantee prosperity. Again and again, the countries and companies that capture the greatest rewards are often those that master what happens after production: processing, engineering, manufacturing, finance, technology, marketing, distribution, brand development. These activities often generate far greater value than the raw commodity itself. Coffee simply makes this pattern easier to see. And coffee is far from unique. The same principle appears across the global economy. Cotton becomes fabric, fabric becomes clothing, clothing becomes an international fashion brand, cocoa becomes chocolate, lithium becomes batteries, rare earth minerals become smartphones, copper becomes electrical infrastructure, again and again. The greatest rewards are often created during transformation, not extraction. Coffee is not the exception. Coffee is the example. This realization changes the conversation. For decades, many producing countries measured success by one question: how much did we export? That is an important question. But perhaps it is no longer the most important one. A better question might be: how much of the industry's total value do we capture? Those are very different measurements. Export volume measures production, value capture measures ownership. Production tells us what leaves a country, ownership tells us what stays. That difference may determine the future of economic development. This is why the story of coffee extends far beyond Ethiopia. Coffee is only our first case study. Tomorrow, the same conversation could be about cocoa in West Africa, lithium in Southern Africa, copper in Zambia, cotton across the developing world. Different resources, the same economic architecture, the same question: who owns the higher value stages of the industry? Who controls the customer? Who owns the brand? Who shapes the market? Who captures the greatest share of the value created? Once you begin asking those questions, you start seeing the same pattern almost everywhere. None of this suggests that the future has already been written. Economic history is full of countries that transformed their position in global value chains. Industries evolve, technology changes, new opportunities emerge. The real challenge is not simply producing more, It is participating in more stages of the value chain, building processing capacity, developing technology, strengthening institutions, creating globally recognized brands, expanding industrial capability, moving from supplier to creator, from producer to owner. Perhaps that is the greatest lesson hidden inside every cup of coffee. The question has never been whether Ethiopia can grow exceptional coffee. The world has known that for generations. The deeper question is, how much of the coffee economy can Ethiopia and countries like it ultimately own? Because prosperity in the 21st century will increasingly belong not only to those who produce the world's resources, but to those who transform them, those who build institutions around them, those who own the relationships, those who own the brands, those who own the future. Coffee gave us the question. The answer reaches far beyond coffee. It reaches into the future of economic development itself. Because origin starts industries, ownership builds wealth. And once you understand that, you begin to see the system everywhere. Remedies Insight. We don't study products. We study the systems that determine who creates value, who captures value, and how nations move from production to ownership.